If you love Victorian homes and you need to live in the Houston or Galveston area, this is the video for you. My name is Mariam Hejazi. I've been helping people buy and sell residential real estate for over 12 years, and I've been loving Houston since 1987. Let's get into it. There is a treasure trove of incredible, beautiful Victorian homes on Galveston Island in Texas. Yep, I said it. And if you love Victorian homes and you're moving to the area, you should find a way to live on Galveston Island so you can live in one of these amazing Victorian homes with build dates starting about 1850. Now, there were houses built certainly before 1850, but a lot of houses perished in the terrible catastrophic fire of 1885 that burned almost the entire island to the ground. Now we enter the boom years, the boom building years after 1885. A lot of beautiful Victorian houses were then built on Galveston Island. And if you don't already know, there was a catastrophic category 4 hurricane that came through in the fall of 1900, which also leveled the island and took nearly 8,000 lives. The island kind of, rightfully so, they took some time to repair and recover. And by about 1910, the Houston Ship Channel had just been dredged and opened. And 1910 was really the time period that Galveston had started to fully recover. And by then, a lot of people had moved from Galveston to Houston. Between 1900 and 1925, Houston's population increased by 125%. So the fire of 1885 and the storm of 1900 in such close succession was really tough for Galveston to recover from. But before these two catastrophic events, Galveston was extremely wealthy. Some of the wealthiest people in America lived in Galveston. It was beautifully done. It was exceptional. It was a wonderful place to live. I think today, if these two disasters had not happened, it would look and feel a lot like the historic part of San Francisco does today. So I'm going to show you on the map the best little places of Galveston Island to look for historic Victorian homes.
Already, where to find craftsman and Victorian houses in Houston, Texas. Sometimes video is hard, but I'm here for it. So in Houston, craftsman houses are really concentrated into a couple of tiny little areas, and they're going to be built between about 1900 and 1938 or 39. And after that, we really see the slab come onto the playing field. And so really after about 1940, we see way more houses built in the ranch and mid-century modern style on concrete slabs. But about pre-1940, we see mostly pier and beam structures being built along with the sparing Victorian, because at the time in this area development occurred really after 1900, and not everyone was super rich. Now there are a couple really old houses in the Heights that are opulent, which would have been a very rich person's house at the time. And so if you love craftsmen and you are living in Houston and you want to know where to look for a craftsman or a Victorian house, here's a video. And then if you're new to Houston or you're researching ahead of a big move and you really want to concentrate on craftsman or Victorian or an old home, I specialize in helping people buy and sell old homes built before about 1975. So I'm definitely your girl. Reach out. I would love to put together a strategy with you. So first of all, number one place to find craftsman and Victorian in Houston is the Houston Heights, the one and only. And the Heights is called the Heights because it is the highest point in Houston. So all of this here, this is the Heights. This we just will this is Lazy Brook and Timber Grove and Shady Acres. Now, this is going to have been developed after 1940, but we'll just use Shepherd Durham as kind of our little line over here. So this is the Greater Heights or the Houston Heights. There are little pockets of the heights, like this is Woodland Heights. This is up in the Norhill area. Sunset Heights is over here. Over here, you'll see a lot of new construction townhomes, all of this general area, but there will be the sparing older house. Now, on the other side of Heights Boulevard and Yale, which run parallel north-south, you're gonna see a lot more historic houses over here, especially in this section here. So Woodland Heights is a historic district, so is Norhill. It's an important thing to note that if you want to buy a Craftsman or a Victorian house that is in an actual historic district and you want to change the exterior of your house, or if you want to put on an addition or add a garage apartment, you will have to get approval by the Houston Historical Commission. And sometimes getting approval is very difficult, or they will flat out deny your request. So if personal freedom of your property is very important to you, then I implore you to not buy in a historic district, simply because there will be a lot of rules that you will have to follow. Now, if you are okay with being in a historic district, then amazing, then buy in a historic district. But it just comes with rules, and the buyer should be well aware of these potential hurdles for the future of their ownership. So these are all going to be mostly Craftsman and Victorian houses. Now in the Heights, there are not a ton of Victorian houses, because most of the, well, I would say all of the Heights was developed after 1900. And the reason for 1900 being the actual year is the storm of 1900 that completely wiped Galveston off of the map. It was a Category 4 hurricane that took over 8,000 lives. And so after 1900, between 1900 and 1925, the population of Houston increased by 125%. And a lot of the people that lived in Galveston or lost family members in Galveston, they didn't rebuild in Galveston and they came up to Houston. And in 1910, we see the dredging and the opening of what is now today's Houston Ship Channel, which brought in tons of commerce and money. And I would say the most successful people built in Woodland Heights, I would say the most beautiful and ornate houses are on Balin Avenue. Balin Avenue is just stunning. They have trees that come over the road. Now, a lot of these are going to be historic houses. Most of these are going to be early Craftsman. And when I say early, I would say pre-1920. So if you're looking for a Craftsman, this is definitely the area for you. If you are looking for a Victorian, a true 1800s Victorian, then I'm going to send you down to Galveston, actually. And if you can't live in Galveston, I'm sorry, but that is where the true Victorian houses are. Now, if you don't like the price tag of the Heights over here, you can just come right over 45 and you can come over here. This is like near North Side, and there is a lot of Craftsmen over here as well. Now, the neighborhood is not as nice, and I sincerely hope that one day it is, but the neighborhood is not in, as I like to say, top dollar condition. That's why these properties garner a far higher price tag than over here. Now, we are seeing prices increase in this little pocket over here. There's a really cool bar over here. I think it's called Monkey's Tail or something. So if you're looking for a deal on a Craftsman in an up-and-coming neighborhood, then you should consider all of this over here. And in Hardy Street is the beginning of the Hardy Toll Road, which takes you all the way up to the woodlands essentially. But this will take you straight into downtown. So if you are looking for a deal and you love a craftsman house and you don't mind living in an up and coming area, then you really should check out this little pocket of town. It's still funky. There's still tons of opportunity over here if you're looking to make a windfall of capital gains in the next, I'm gonna have to CYA here and say 15 years, then you should look at near North Side. Now there are also craftsmen over here, and again, unfortunately, this community is not in top dollar condition, but just all of this still has very historic houses, and I feel like it kind of gets forgotten about because most people in Houston live east of downtown. Like, there's this crazy line just about right here that most of the population of Houston live on the other side of that. So most people live on the west side of downtown. Now there's like almost like kind of like a whole subculture over here. There are some of my absolute favorite restaurants over here. Tiny Champions is over here, and Nancy's Hustle is in Edo. Edo has like a very industrial warehouse feel, but there's a ton of up and coming development over here. And there has been, honestly, for the last decade, but real estate prices have really greatly improved over here. But if you're looking for a warehouse, honestly, this might be a great place for you to look. And as far as Victorian and Craftsman, this is again going to be the greatest concentration of them. Now you will be able to find some craftsmen in like the Montrose in the Westmoreland area, Hyde Park. These are going to be fancy craftsmen built before 1920. So this is kind of just this wide net over here. It's highly concentrated, but there are going to be some pretty craftsmen and Victorian-esque houses over here. Now this was developed before the Heights was, so that is the reasoning for houses that are a little bit more Victorian-esque rather than like American craftsmen. So all over here, you're really just gonna have to do kind of needle in a haystack style, but if you're looking for a more Victorian-esque house, this is a better bet over here. And then there is a wonderful little pocket called Cortlandt Place, and it is in the American craftsman movement. In my opinion, this is Cortlandt Place. It is a gated community, and there has only been one spec house ever proposed and it's actually currently on the market, and it was a hot topic at 3 different Houston Historical Commission meetings. But all of these houses are original, and they were built in the 10s and 20s. And they are really in the American craftsman style, but I wouldn't call them craftsman bungalows by any stretch. This cost some serious money at the time of original construction. So this is a very old part of town over here. So if you're looking for a craftsman that sways a little bit more ornate to Victorian, then this is definitely going to be the area that you want to look at. Now, again, if you want true Victorian, you are going to have to go all the way down 45 to Galveston Island, where most of the houses were built in the early 1900s. So the east end of the Galveston Island, this is all going to be historic over here. So if you're looking for a very true Victorian, then you should look down here.